Welcome to the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast service of globalbusinessnews.net.
This episode from the meeting room of Global TV Talk Show is brought to you by
The Bridge School, the accredited international online private school of choice, at bridgek12.org.
Porch Light Rental and Destination Services. Reduce your renter lump sum or managed relocation costs. Visit them at porchlightrental.com.
And by airs.com. With our full range of services, we can help design and manage your international relocation. Find us at airs.com.
Primestone Partners, featuring corporate, government, and developer housing solutions, as well as senior-level advisory services. Find them at primestonepartners.com.
And by International Auto Source. We are the vehicle experts for expats, featuring all major brands of automobiles with flexible solutions and financing. On the web at intlauto.com.
Become a global player in your field.
Cross Culture to Go provides virtual support for your global business and career success.
We can help you thrive in 140 plus countries and markets.
On the web at crossculturetogo.com.
This is Global TV Talk Show, a broadcast unit of globalbusinessnews.net. Go check it out. You're going to be surprised how good you're going to feel after looking at that site. Promise. So this is Ed Cohen in San Diego, and we have Mark Naidicz in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and nearby is Mike Harris. Mike, where are you coming from? Where is your house situated?
I am coming to you from Fish Creek, Wisconsin, which is up in Door County, a little bit north of Green Bay.
Got it. Okay. Well, our producer, Paul, used to live in Green Bay. How about that? So it's a small world.
He must be a Packer fan.
Yeah, Paul, yeah, I'm sure you were and are. Yeah. In fact, I was just watching Jeopardy last week or the week before, and Aaron was the guest host. And yeah, I thought he did a good job.
Yep.
Yeah. So, Mike Harris, you're going to be the star of this show, but I wanted to go to Mark first. And Mark, tell us a little bit about your charity work. I know you're involved big time in foundation work, and your affiliation with the Catholic Church is predominant in your life. Please tell us about that.
Sure. Well, I had the good fortune about 3 years ago to retire, and it certainly has allowed me to focus on a number of things that I'm very passionate about. As you mentioned, certainly education is a big part of it. I sit on a number of boards, organizations that are focused on education, and certainly a number of areas within my church, and then a lot of philanthropic work that I have been fortunate to be able to be involved with over the last, many cases, 30, 40 years, but now I spend the predominant amount of time in those areas. The other thing that I love to do is I work with Mike and his team as a executive search partner for the business, and that certainly keeps me very connected into an area that I'm very passionate about, and that's recruitment and hiring and development of people. So I'm involved in a number of areas with them, and I also have my consulting business that keeps me very busy. So as my wife says, I'm really not retired.
Yeah, you're spread. Are you a Gemini by any chance? You got all these interests, though.
No, I'm a Pisces, but yes, my wife does say that I have a lot of interests in different things. That's called a short attention span.
Okay, so just so the world knows, you were for many years a senior leader, executive with pharmaceutical, big pharma. And you have that perspective, and that's how you and I met. When I did my live meetings in Chicago, I was fortunate to have you speak on several occasions. So thank you. Okay, so this leads us to, with your executive search function, to Patina. Mike Harris, thank you so much, sir. Very nice to meet you, and I'm very impressed with what you're doing these days, and the ball player, the coach approach that you seem to be taking. Those are my words. And so you have a new book out called 180. Producer Paul, if you could please show that book cover when you can. And Mike, if you could explain what 180 means.
Sure. Well, thanks, Ed. I'm really glad to be here. This book is a couple years old now, and I sort of wanted to tie something to Patina. Patina, the way I view what we're doing in the market, and we've been around now 12 years, is we're creating a different way to work for people. So, those that have a lot of experience, say 25 plus years of experience, we provide a different way for them to use that great experience to help companies. It might be doing a project, it might be filling in as an interim executive for a while, could be doing some coaching. So I always thought of that as sort of this work 180. You kept doing what you've been doing your whole career. You just were doing it in a different way. You were coming in to help various companies and parachuting in, doing something, and then leaving. So that was sort of a work 180. And then I had the idea that, it's also very interesting and I think inspiring to find people that did a career 180. So they did something for the majority of their career, and then they made a decision to do something totally different. And that's really was the impetus behind Career 180s. And I found 10 people that just did some remarkable things, one guy started an IT company and built a consulting firm, and he sold it for a ton of money. And then he went back to medical school to be an emergency room doctor. I was like, who does that?
Wow.
So I found these stories, and it was really very enjoyable to talk with these folks, and again, very inspiring.
Wow, that's inspiring by itself. So let's think about your book for a second. And what interests me is, from your point of view, other than the story you just told us about the guy who became an emergency room doc, what other situation, what other chapter in this book stands out in your mind as extraordinary?
Yeah, it to me, there's one that was just kind of fun too. There was a guy that was a venture capital guy and a private equity guy, and he was a deal guy and always numbers and pressure and all that kind of stuff. And he finally just said, you know what, I've had it. He was comfortable financially, and he decided that he was going to do a craft brewery and use botanicals. He became sort of Chicago's guy to brew beer with botanicals. And he just created the most remarkable brewery, sort of brew pub down in Chicago, and he brought the neighborhood in, and it was just such a transformation from what he was doing and he was really good at deals. I knew him, in those days. But it was just such a neat thing to do, to take that plunge and do something totally different. And he put his own money into it. But I found that one also just very interesting. And then he became sort of the king of the botanicals. That's what he had, sort of a great nickname. And he bought these torpedoes to infuse the beer with botanicals, and he made sure all of his taps were below the bar so that the bartender could talk straight up without tappers in the way. And I just thought that was such an inspiring thing to change from and go to.
That's inspiring to listen to. And it brings to mind what's been going on, not only in my personal life, but with so many others the past year and a half, as a result of the pandemic, about people have needed to reinvent their product or their brand or their life. And that's exactly what you guys are doing, right? And helping people do that.
Yes, and I think that's exactly right. There's all kinds of people that come and join what we call Patina Nation. That's our big, wonderful collection of talented executives. And, they come from us with a lot of different sort of situations and backgrounds. And, Mark's a really good example. Mark was a corporate guy and a great, successful executive. And all of a sudden you're doing consulting sort of on your own. It's very different. And that's a lot of what Patina is all about, is we find the opportunities for people. And right, we negotiate with the client, we do all the billing, we've got all the right insurance. So we're helping people, again, think about working differently. They're still using all that great experience. That's what we want at Patina and what our clients want. We want all that experience they've got, but it's just working in a different way. And so, I always teased, we were sort of one of the first to be in the gig economy back when I teased gigs back when we started Patina was really music. It was like, I got a gig tonight. It was a music, playing music. It wasn't sort of an entirely different way to think about working.
So here we have a graphic that I just love. And producer Paul, if you could just zero in a little bit. And then Mike, if you could take us around the circle, if you can enlarge. Yeah, thanks. And then is this, well, where do you start?
Yeah, I would just say we've sort of got two parts of our business, right? Two sides of our business. We have Patina Solutions, and I always tease that's the mothership. That's where we go out and, we listen to clients and we understand what they're going through, and we make sure they understand how we can help them if they need it. And that's the business end. We're out there every day, working with some of the best companies in the country. And then we created about 3.5 years ago this community called Patina Nation. We liked how that sounded, and we really do treat it as a community. And we're looking for the independent executives, the independent consultants, the coaches to join up with us. And it doesn't cost anything to sign up. And then over time, we've developed all these things that you see on the screen, these sort of buckets of benefits and services and ways to make money with us and together and ways to connect with each other. We have a great online forum for folks. So, this wasn't here 4 years ago, but we realized we're missing an opportunity to try to start bringing these people together. And because it does get kind of lonely if you're out there as an independent executive, you're used to having a peer group in your company or drinking buddies from the company, and all of a sudden that tends to go away. We tried to say, well, there's some things that we're going to make sure we provide to people. And that's what this Patina Nation is all about.
So one of the difficulties of going out on one's own is the risk of crashing your credit rating, being in business for yourself. So what is your window? What is your wall? Fireproof wall, or whatever the right words are.
Yeah, it's a good question, because over at Patina Solutions, where we do consulting work and utilize this great talent to serve our clients, we made the decision. We pay everybody that works for us as a W-2 employee of our company. And that we do that for several reasons. One, it's just safer contracting for everybody, including the client companies that don't want to have an IRS challenge about this whole worker classification. And then the other thing is, by paying people as W-2 employees with us, they get paid every 2 weeks. We pay them every 2 weeks, so they get the cash flow, and then we bill our clients. And hey, some of these big companies pay 60, 90 days out. If you're on your own and you're waiting 3 or 4 months to get a check, that gets tough on you. With Patina, when you work with us, we pay you every 2 weeks, and then we take the risk of getting paid or not. We have all the requisite insurance that you're going to need, around errors and emissions and other kind of liability insurance. So we're a nice place to go as long as we can find an engagement that really fits the background and the timing and the economics.
So I'm coming at this as a newbie here, okay? So please forgive my elementary sounding questions, but maybe I'm portraying through me my audience. So how do you pick the personalities?
Yeah, matching the right member of Patina Nation, the right talent to go and serve a client, it's definitely both art and science. So we got to make sure the background is the right fit. that's the beauty of having a lot of people in the Patina Nation is, when we have a very specific need that a client has, we've got the person. We've got that person, or we'll find them. And so, the credentials and the experience and the background, candidly, that's almost the easiest part. And then we have to understand the culture and what are they looking for? Do they want someone who's coming in to look at cost reduction and they don't really want a rosy personality, or do they want someone to come in because the culture is very difficult and try to make some improvements to the culture? So we do look at the fit and try to make sure we're also finding somebody that does fit the cultural situation. But so they're a little bit of both. And then the other thing with our clients, when we start an engagement, if it's just the wrong fit, and sometimes it is, they can end the engagement basically immediately. And then we'll either find somebody else. That's of course what we hope to do. But so that's the thing, when you're using someone for 3 months, they may not have the greatest personality fit with your culture, but they might have the right skills and you're fine with that. But because we make it really easy to work with us and to end an engagement if it's just not working out, that tends to sort of diffuse some of that concern.
So, Mark, could you add texture to this?
Sure. A couple things that I find very interesting and appealing for the Patina Nation is, one, if you were in a situation like me where I had the very good fortune to have a wonderful career and I decided I call it my second act, the things that I wanted to really focus on for the next half of my life. And what I found is that after working in large, outstanding corporations for 30 some years, is that you can miss, and I did miss, kind of that connection with other people. And what I found was that I could utilize a number of areas on this beautiful mosaic that you have set up here that says, I want to connect with other individuals on some professional development activities, or I want to utilize a service because people that know me know that I'm not good at the IT side of it or marketing, and I can tap into expertise on demand when I need them. The connection with peers, and I find this really valuable and exciting when I'm in working with connecting individuals to Patina, is that the quality of the people that I work with in Patina is absolutely outstanding. And they are people that come from these roles where they led, in many cases, functions in HR, but it could be in any function, CFOs and heads of operation. And so you get to work with this really outstanding group of people to help support, which is one of the things that I love, to help support finding the right talent for an organization. And way back 20 some years ago, when I first got into executive or into my talent acquisition role, I used to tell people I have the most important job in the company. Our team does, because we're helping to bring the future talent that's going to drive success for the organization. So, there is this, for me, this purpose, mission, and that's what I do in all the areas that I focus on. And this allows me to have great flexibility, and I can work, frankly, when I want to work. And if I can turn down opportunities, I could say maybe there's someone else that's better to do this work. But it's really a fantastic way to stay connected to something that it is important to me, but I don't want to have to own my own business to do all that.
So, Mike, if I could just play the junior role here for a second and just get some clarity from my head and maybe the audience. Is it the role of being a CEO whisperer, or is it somebody that parachutes into a job for a period of time to solve a problem?
It's really more of the latter. I mean, we're pretty hands-on in the Patina Nation. Most of the people that join us, they're practitioners. They're people that have a lot of practical experience. So take a guy like Mark. Mark, and by the way, there's nothing wrong with people who've consulted their whole life. They're smart, they get it, they see things differently, and that's all really super valuable. But the vast majority of people that make up Patina Nation were operational people. And so Mark ran HR, he's run talent acquisitions, he knows what it's like to get people hired and into the company. And, so the stuff that we do, there's a little bit of coaching. We do some coaching around, CEOs and some sort of up and coming talent in an organization. We like that. And it's a growing part of our business. But most of the work we do is really coming in to do something tangible, whether it's just to fill a role right now because somebody either unexpectedly left or got fired and they can't, the train's got to keep running on time and they need somebody, or they just got a key initiative and they're either short resources or they just don't have the right skill set for it. And it's a finite thing and they'd rather just get what they need, utilize it, and then, have it go away.
So it's not really a board level. It's somewhere in the senior structure.
That's exactly right. We've placed some board members. We probably have one of the greatest collections of potential board members of anybody in the country, in the Patina Nation, just based on who they are. But yeah, most of our work is done at sort of the, let's call it maybe vice president, director level, and then up through the C-suite, especially in companies that might be 100 million in revenue. We might put an interim CFO in there, but when we work for the big companies, chances are we're doing some projects for them.
So who would be your target customer? Specific level. Would you strive to talk to the CEO, or is it somewhere else?
Well, it's, we love to meet. We always say you go as high as you can. So if you can talk to the CEO of a large organization, which we certainly love to do, you get some buy-in from him or her, and boom, if they say, yep, why don't you talk to my supply chain people? Then you get that meeting if the CEO tells them to take it. So that's one of the beauties and probably one of the challenges of the Patina model is we're a really good solution for so many different industries and so many different sort of functional areas in a company. But, we love, we've got some key industries, healthcare, manufacturing is about 40% of our world, and just all the things that happen in plants and, inventory and purchasing and supply chain. And then private equity is also a very nice vertical for us because they own a lot of businesses and they're always churning talent in private equity, and they need a partner like us to fill the gap or just get somebody else to take over a function or a company for them. But when, and our sweet spot in company size is about 100 million in revenue to about $1 billion, maybe a couple billion. That's the sweet spot of the size company we love to call on. We do work for some huge companies, bigger than a couple billion. And if somebody's a $50 million business and it's owned by a private equity firm and they just need some help, we're happy to do it. But the smaller the company, then your bill rates get to be a challenge, and they try to do it on their own. They try to find other ways to do it. But and then functionally, we love talking to the CFO. We love talking to the COO because the operational people usually are the ones that are having the most trouble. They got 20 plants and they're behind. The quality's bad. They're overwhelmed. They got to shut one down. I mean, there's just so much going on in the world of operations that we love those folks. And we also very, very often talk to the HR leaders because we do a fair amount of HR work. And then with all the search and sort of hiring support that we can provide, that's usually the HR leaders that are running that. So they're very critical to us as well.
Something that's really neat is that the Bridge School partners with various organizations to provide learning for their students. For example, we partner with a major ballet company, and we are able to enroll several of their students into our school. So now not only is the student able to participate in a school and have a seamless transition while they're very active in their ballet career, but now they have other dancers that are with them that are doing some of the same courses. So it's almost becoming a camaraderie where they're taking similar courses, they're working together on their ballet, and really being able to form this great partnership with these organizations to provide a needed service. A lot of times, there are student athletes who will spend hours and hours at the gym or at the basketball courts, wherever it is. And if they're attending a traditional school, they're in school from 8 to 3. They get a quick snack, and then they're at the gym for 3 to 4 hours in the evening. Coming to us and having that partnership, they're able to break that up throughout the day. They can have a morning practice, get some schooling in, have an afternoon practice, finish their schooling in the evening. So there's that flexibility. And additionally, if there are tournaments or performances, it's fantastic because if there's a week where they have shows straight through, they can take that week off of learning and then pick back up when they're done. So it offers this great flexibility. And for the program owners of these sports leagues, it is a win-win situation for them because they see this need. They see this need that their students need to make sure that they are obtaining the grades necessary to be successful adults in our country and in other countries. But it provides them an environment where they can be successful at both.
Mark, what do you think was what's going to happen post-COVID? We're sort of in that now, just beginning. Yeah. What's your insight?
Well, I think it's really going to be very fascinating over the next 6 to 12 months as we get out of this. But we're going to have it's going to be a different new normal. I think that the world that we experienced the last 14 or 15 months actually has some benefits for the future of work. Okay. One of them is, I think we learned that you can work in a lot of roles and you don't have to be going to work every day, right? I know that for a lot of people, where I worked, we had a lot of people that worked remotely, but in some companies that was not the case. And they learned to adapt and adopt. And what I've seen in some of the research is actually very encouraging that people and their businesses did very well. Patina is a good example. They had a very good year last year in spite of all the challenges and having another good year now. So I do think that this whole concept of where you can kind of buy and borrow talent and is going to be, much more blurred and organizations are looking for organizations like Patina to say, I need help and I need it now. And I like the idea that I don't have to spend a lot of time training someone. They can come in and hit the ground running and have an immediate impact, sometimes in a week or less, or in a few months to get a project done with a deeply experienced person that could take much longer. So I think that's where I think we're going. And I think at all levels, both small companies and big companies are going to be very much focused in this area.
So and I'll just add, Ed, that
yes.
When this hit about a year ago, most of the work that Patina had historically done, we did it on site with the client. I mean, if we were at Abbott Labs doing an HR project, chances are we were sitting there in a cubicle or an office or something. We were meeting with other people in conference rooms. That's historically been the way this company operated, almost always. And next thing you know, overnight, that wasn't going to be possible anymore. And we didn't know what we were going to see. But we quickly got everybody transitioned to be able to work remotely. And Mark's right. We had a really nice year and we're off to the best start in our history right now. And so I don't think I would have ever guessed that we could transition and do operational, hands-on leadership, some advisory consulting stuff, but be doing that mostly remotely. So that was a big lesson in learning for me.
So this is not political at all. It's just business. But what about the vaccine? Like, for instance, I've had both vaccines and I feel liberated and I feel safe and protected. But I know some people say, whoa, I'm not doing that. So what about getting people back to work? This is a mess.
Mark, you want to take that one?
Yeah,
Yeah, sure.
I think that what we're going to find is that people really want to have the opportunity to go back to work, but in a different way, right? One of the challenges that we see, at least in our business and even my consulting, is, there's a challenge doing everything remotely, and there's consequences to that, right? And I think when you can find in the businesses ways in which you can do that, because some things are just hard to do. Like, I was fortunate. Maybe it was good that I retired when I did, because I think this would have been a challenge for me, because I love to be with people. I love to have the energy of the people. And all of a sudden, I would have been pulled away from that. And there's one thing to do what we're doing, and it can be very effective. But as you said, Ed, the power was in all the informality that we had when we did your programs, right? And the power was in the people in the room that you could share. And you can replicate that to some extent, but it's still different. Now, the advantage is you can have a much greater reach. And I think that that's what people are seeing is you can take this and someone can, at their leisure, listen to something that makes sense. But I do think that that is a really important area. And I think companies are actually, I've seen some that said, we're not going back until 2022. And now they're saying, we might be coming back in a little different way. So I think it's going to play out, but I don't know the answer as much as I think that we're going to have to find the rhythm of how it works in the new normal.
And I'll just add, Ed, when Patina does business development, most of the work, until last March, all of our selling pretty much was in person. We had the sort of the relationship and respectful model of going to the client, crossing the threshold, sitting down, getting to know each other. And all of a sudden that also changed. And I was like, oh my God, what are we going to do? How are we going to sell over the phone or on Zoom? And it was very difficult in the last year to get new clients. Thankfully, we had a lot of happy clients and they still needed help. So I don't know what's going to happen with the vaccines either. It might be just like traveling and some of the other things. If we wanted to go in to see a company, they might say, you need to show your vaccination card. I don't know. I think that's what we're all sort of waiting to hear. Patina, for most of our sort of operational stuff, sales and operations and finding the right talent, we've had several of our people sort of working remotely anyway. And so that wasn't too big of a shock to the system. But again, that ability to go see client leaders, we have to build credibility and awareness and trust, and that's hard to do, over the computer. It's certainly gotten better and easier than it was a year ago when none of us knew how to even use Zoom. And now I'm pretty good with Zoom. I do my board meetings on Zoom. I'm sharing my screen. I'm doing this and that. And a year ago, I didn't know what Zoom was. I always tease, I thought it was a show on Nickelodeon that my kids probably watched.
Right. So I'm in the same way. Our live meetings just evaporated a year ago, March 1st. And Paul and I, we've been doing radio shows. Podcasts is the word now, but we call them radio shows for 10 years. And says, what's Zoom? We better learn this. So, but the interesting thing for me, I'm just a small business guy, is that the reach is huge if you do it right. So I just picked up through LinkedIn. I live on LinkedIn and doing all my networking. I found, or I was connected somehow, I forget, with this immigration and visa mobility leader in Colombo, Sri Lanka. And there we were dealing, typing, hello, I am Ed, and this is what I do. And so wonderful personality, very professional, was educated in London, and then went back home. and built a business taking care of working with the government on foreign direct investment, bringing companies and then people into work there, right? So this lady built a business on that. So I said, why don't you come on my Zoom talk show and introduce yourself, and we'll have a 20, 30-minute gig of conversation. And she said, yeah, let's do it. And so we agreed on a time and date. It's May 24 for me, May 25 early morning for her. All right. And so that means 8 o'clock at night, my time, to do that. And that's fine with me. But that would never happen in a million years. And so this will lead to, because I don't charge for this, it's all complimentary because I want to build the audience and the following. I'm finding that we're now able to attract advertisers, not big bucks, but frequent, because they want their logo, they want their head, they want their message on my global TV nonstop for a year. And so the price is pretty low. And so I'm doing a number of shows, a lot of shows, and giving the advertisers an opportunity for more and better exposure at like minimum cost. And so we've been fortunate here to build this cachet with about 100,000 viewers over the last year and a half. And I would never have 100,000 people pay me $200 or $300 to sit in a room. Never.
Yeah,
So,
and the other thing I would add, which I find very powerful, is this situation has created even a greater culture of learning across the world.
right.
One of the most powerful things for me that I get to do now that I have more time is to be on programs like this, but also others where I can just learn from people that are sitting all over the world. And to be on a call where there's 1,000 people and there's 80 countries represented, it's very powerful to just learn from that process. And I don't think we maximized that before, and hopefully now we can find the balance of how we maximize that with still the face-to-face or the other ways in which we can connect with people.
Yeah,
So-
I've also found it pretty incredible that in the last year, I mean, we've been able to work through getting several executives hired by companies. And I added a board member at Patina. I've never met her. Still, I've never met her. I
Right.
talked to her, I Zoomed, but I've never met her. And I'm just like, if you would have said a year ago, that's what you're going to do for adding a board member, I'd be like, you're crazy. That will
No.
never, ever, ever happen. And so people are hiring, they're using tools like this. And, I talked to one of our guys who we placed into a company, and he said, no, I've never even met the company yet. It's all been over Zoom. And he's like,
in fact, some of our customers are real estate brokers because they deal with relocation of staff, right? And so people are buying homes on Zoom with a sight unseen. Can you imagine? So, yeah, so it's really been fun talking with you guys, and frankly, an education. And I think the show is going to help my little company spring forward and upward into a more senior level audience. So thank you very much for your time and your insight, Mark. Bless you for doing this. Thank you. Please come back.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Come back and next month or the month after, and let's talk about how things are progressing as the economy opens up.
That'd be great.
Sounds good.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Ed.
you, Mike. Nice to meet you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you, Dan. And this is Ed signing off. Bye-bye.
I know.
Thank you for joining us in the meeting room at Global TV Talk Show.
Have a wonderful day, and stay safe.